Black and gold fans, college football fans, welcome back or welcome in to the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog, where we examine, discuss, honor, and celebrate all things college football across the entire college football landscape, but with a very special emphasis on our beloved black and gold squads of the Missouri Tigers and the Iowa Hawkeyes. Welcome back, guys. I appreciate you being back. I am your host, Blair Parks, and today is my big, huge Week 13 preview and picks episode. That's right, rivalry week is upon us already. I mean, each and every year, guys, the season just goes quicker and faster and faster. In the blink of an eye, it's here and it's gone. But this is a huge rivalry week, guys, here in Week 13. So much hangs in the balance. There are so many things that are yet to be settled as far as conference championship races and potential college football playoff berths and invites. And it's going to be decided on the gridiron as it should be. Welcome back, guys. It's great to be back here with you once again. Both of our beloved black and gold squads are in action here in Week 13. First, the Missouri Tigers, they're at home. It's senior day, and both of our black and golds do play on Black Friday, so it's nice to have, those results early in the week, so then we know what's going to happen moving forward. Missouri hosts Arkansas in Columbia, Missouri, so not too far away from where I reside here in the Show Me State. Huge things on the line. Missouri currently sits there at 5 wins. They need to knock off the Razorbacks to get bowl eligible. And our Iowa Hawkeyes, they are one of those teams that there's so much to play for. What I've broke out today, as you can tell, usually with my game day hair, that signals that it is preview and picks day. But I've got my Rose Bowl shirt on from 2016. And that is potentially what our Iowa Hawkeyes are playing for. It's simple for Iowa. Beat Nebraska, and you advance to Indianapolis to the Big Ten title game to take on either Ohio State or Michigan. And you're playing to basically play in the Rose Bowl to get back to the granddaddy of them all. So it's only fitting that I broke out my Rose Bowl shirt today. So huge ramifications on the line for our black and gold squads. Before I say any more, I want to say thank you for everything that you guys have done for the channel, the Black and Gold family, all of you subscribers, all of you college football fanatics and crazies alike. You are all welcomed here. This channel is not just for fans of the Black and Gold squads. Well, I forgive you because nobody's perfect. But this is a safe haven for all college football fans. And I invite you and encourage you to please get involved. Comment, like, share, subscribe, click the button. I want to hear from you. If there's anything that I say that you'd like to respond to, by all means, this is always an open invite. Comment, let me know what you think. And I promise I will take the time to respond to each and every one of you individually. And right now the channel is growing each and every day, every week. So let's keep the momentum going. Let's keep going in the right direction, up with the views, subscriptions, comments, and that is all thanks to you. You, the college football universe, you fans. You are the ones who drive these episodes. So please comment, like, share, subscribe. Tell your fellow college football fans about the channel, your coworkers, your family, your friends. Tell them to check me out here on the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. So what's on tap for today, guys? The usual preview and picks episode prior to having simultaneously my Week 13 previews and picks. I'm going to give you the very quick updated Heisman Trophy race and standings according to me. Each and every week during these episodes, I like to give you my short list. I've got 4 individuals who are on my ballot to where if those were sent out today, These are the 4 cats who deserve to be invited to NYC to try to hoist the most coveted award in all of college football. So I will give you that update from what happened last week, post week 12, going into week 13, and then we will get into previews and picks. And also, guys, the second annual guest picker tournament rolls on. Last week, it was the 4 versus 5 seed. 4 was my boss, Sam. He took out the 5th seed, my kids, by 1 game. That's right, it was close. And hopefully Sam feels like a real big man defeating a 10 and a 7-year-old. But he moves on, and today a matchup of Titans, the 2 versus 3 seed. Last year's champion, Brett, the 2 seed, versus the 3 seed. Charlie, my former co-host, but never partner, Missouri fan number 1, and a right to advance to the guest picker tournament finale. So a lot on the line for our guest picker tournament today as well. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and get it. Let's get into it, and please comment, like, share, subscribe, click the button. Let me know what you think. All right, guys, so as promised, the first segment today is my updated Heisman Trophy race and candidates pre-week 13 or post-week 12, whatever your perspective is. And there was a little bit of movement, guys, after what we saw happen. One individual who was clearly on my Heisman Trophy shortlist is now completely off because of a loss and an injury. I know that may not be fair, but that's just how the cookie crumbles. Sometimes that's just how it is. So let's get to my Heisman Trophy shortlist in no particular order. I've got first is Michigan running back Blake Corum. He finds himself solidly on my shortlist. Next is North Carolina quarterback Drake May. Yes, North Carolina is coming off a very damaging loss against Georgia Tech, an average Georgia Tech squad that's looking for bowl eligibility this week against Georgia. Good luck. But still, his numbers, there's no way I can keep him off this list, even with a loss, with the numbers he's put up this season. And who knows? Are they capable of shocking Clemson next week in the ACC title game? Perhaps. We'll have to wait and see. Next on my list is Ohio State quarterback C.J. Stroud. He's been on my list since the first week I was bringing these to you, setting all kinds of records there at Ohio State, composing a beautiful offense. There's no doubt about it. And after last week's performance, another composer who was able to finally break through and get on my Heisman Trophy shortlist. I'm talking he was on the outside looking in for a couple weeks, but after last week's gutty, big-time victory over arch rival, inner city rival UCLA, that's right, welcome to the shortlist, USC quarterback Caleb Williams, another beautiful composer, very John Williams-like, there's no doubt about it. So that is my Heisman Trophy shortlist, and I have only one individual who still is in the running who could find themselves to get on this shortlist. He's still alive, but I think they need to win out. They've got one more regular season game, and then they've already punched their ticket to the Big 12 title game. That's right, I'm talking about TCU quarterback Max Duggan. I still think he's got 1 or 2 more opportunities to get on my short list, but also somebody who's on it has to maybe not have that Heisman Trophy moment, suffer a bad loss, or really have a bad showing and outcome or stats to be replaced. So Max Duggan, you're the next guy in if something happens to the 4 on my short list. Now, some individuals have been eliminated over the last few weeks. Bo Nix was eliminated 2 weeks ago with that loss at home against Washington for the Oregon Ducks. Before that, just because of 2 losses, even though this guy is balling out And I think without him on the team, Alabama absolutely has at least 3 losses instead of 2. I'm talking about Alabama quarterback Bryce Young, the reigning Heisman Trophy victor from last season. I think he has been eliminated. And after last week's shellacking at South Carolina against the Gamecocks, I'm talking Tennessee quarterback Hendon Hooker, who left late in the game, apparently suffered a season-ending ACL injury. That's unfortunate to hear. Because of that loss and because of his injury, guys, he now is eliminated from Heisman Trophy consideration. So those are the 3 who now have played their way off of my Heisman Trophy shortlist and will not find themselves back on. So that's it. And another thing, I've got to mention this because rivalry week only means that it's time for this year's edition of The Game between Ohio State and Michigan. And I just said there are not only Big Ten East ramifications on the line. The winner of that game advances to Indianapolis for a chance to play for the Big Ten title game, but also those 2 victories will absolutely find either Ohio State or Michigan in the college football playoff. They come into the weekend ranked 2 and 3. So not just conference title or college football playoff ramifications in that game, but I just said 2 of the 4 guys on my Heisman shortlist are Blake Corum versus quarterback C.J. Stroud. So running back for Michigan, quarterback Ohio State. So either one of them has a huge opportunity to impress the committee, the voters for the Heisman Trophy. It's time for that Heisman moment and Heisman statement, victory, and performance. Can't wait to watch that game, guys. Cannot wait. So much on the line. And for all of these college football playoff contenders, you've got one more chance here in the regular season to put all of your cards on the table and impress the college football playoff committee to try to earn one of those college football playoff invites. So that's my updated Heisman Trophy standings and race, my short list. Let me know what you think about that race, guys. Comment. Is there somebody that I should add on it? Maybe remove somebody else? Is there someone that you think I should have at least mentioned in the running? Let me know. Comment, like, share, subscribe. Hook me up. So now let's go ahead and move into my favorite segment each and every week, guys. It's time to do some previews and picks for Rivalry Week, Week 13. And there is so much to go through, but I need to adjust. Boom, that's better. Now I'm ready to get my pick on. So this is where we are, guys. If this is your first time joining me on the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog, each and every preview and picks episode, I pick 15 games to pick. Now, a lot of these games are the on-the-radar games that you know a lot about as college football fans, but some of them are a little bit off the radar that still are going to have huge ramifications as far as conference races and bowl positioning and everything else that goes into playing the last week of the season. So definitely want to hang around. And of those 15 games, I always pick 6 spotlight games. One of them is my Academy game of the week, which always includes one of the Academy schools, Air Force, Army, or Navy, as my salute to the men and women of the United States Armed Forces and Services. I will then always have a non-Power 5 matchup of the week, which is going to be a big-time matchup with big stakes involved. I will always have an FCS game of the week because great football, great rivalries are played at the lower level of Division I football in this nation. So I got to give them a shout out and a little bit of PR. I will always pick anytime that our black and gold squads are playing, which they both are this week, I will always pick the Missouri and Iowa games. And then, guys, I always have my premier spotlight game of the week, the biggest game of the weekend with the biggest stakes involved. And that's this week. It should not be a big-time surprise what that game's going to be. but hang out, stay tuned for that. So last week, yours truly went 9-6. Not a bad week, but I've got to do a little bit better. I've only got 2 more weeks, and this is what I'm playing for. So on the season, I'm currently 109-71, 109 victories to 71 losses, good for 61% correct. Now that's important because, guys, preseason, before my first week of picks, I set myself a goal to end the regular season after conference championship week at 70% or better. So I'm going to need a lot of help, guys. I mean, I need to have 2 excellent weeks, maybe going 12-3, 13-2. So it's possible, guys, but unlikely. But I am not going to step down from the challenge. I think I can reach that 70% barrier, but things have got to go my way here the last 2 weeks. So that's where I currently am. That's where I was last week, and that's my goal. And today I've mentioned the guest picker tournament. Matches up Brett against Charlie. We'll see who advances. I've got their picks here in front of me along with my own. So without further ado, guys, I know the anticipation is killing you, just like Dr. Frankenfurter said from Rocky Horror Picture Show. So let's go ahead and get into it, guys. All right, so the first game, and this is a Black Friday matchup. I'm talking about the in-state rivalry game that now has lost a little bit of luster. After North Carolina's loss last week to Georgia Tech, they fall in the rankings. NC State lost to, I believe, Louisville last week. They are no longer ranked. So I'm talking about NC State, the Wolfpack, traveled to Chapel Hill to take on their in-state rival, the North Carolina Tar Heels. Big time stakes involved with this. It's a rivalry game, a chance to hold bragging rights in the state over your biggest rival, intrastate. And also, it's a big game for North Carolina. They need to show that they can bounce back a little bit because they've already punched their ticket. They are the ACC Coastal Division champions, and they will face Clemson next week in the ACC title game. Can they have a good bounce-back game after that disappointing loss against Georgia Tech? Let's find out right now. And can Drake May continue to put up Heisman-like numbers for the Tar Heels? Let's see. So, guess first, and I'm going to start off with the higher seed. That is Brett. He asked the question, and he asked me this, and I asked you. I shared this with you the last 2 weeks. Why was NC State even ranked up to last weekend? They should not have been, not ranked now. Who are they? He doesn't believe that North Carolina is an elite team by any means, which I don't think they are either. Their offense is explosive, but defense under DC Gene Chizik. You remember that guy, that name drop from Auburn and Iowa State. Somebody us Iowa fans know a lot about in Gene Chizik. Their defense has really struggled. But that being said, he just likes the offensive power and explosiveness of North Carolina. Brett's taking the Tar Heels. Charlie, he's also on board with that for the same reasons. He likes North Carolina. Me, I'd be a little bit more hesitant if this game was played in Raleigh, if it was a home game for NC State. But I'm also with my guest pickers. I just think down the stretch, NC State has really struggled since their stud quarterback, Devin Leary, was lost for the season due to injury. I'm also taking North Carolina, so we're all on the Tar Heels for that game. Next game up, huge game within the Sunshine State. They're playing for the Florida Cup. I'm talking about the Florida Gators travel to number 16, Florida State. Big-time matchup down in Tallahassee. So for state bragging rights, it's really been a year to forget for the Florida Gators under first-year coach Billy Napier, coming off a very eye-opening and embarrassing loss last week at Vanderbilt. That's right, at Vandy. You know, the anchor up, the Commodores knocked them off in Nashville last weekend. Are they going to be able to get themselves up off the mat after that big-time loss? They are going bowling. They're bowl eligible. They've got their 6 wins. And a really good, solid season for Coach Mike Norvell, who entered this season on the hot seat down in Tallahassee for Florida State. Really, really good season for the Noles. Looking to, I believe, get to 9-3 on the regular season. Be a really excellent year for them. Let's see what our guest pickers think in this year's edition of the Florida Cup. Brett, Florida, he says, who are they? He thinks they're a very, very, very average team at best, are the Gators, and they've shown that. They've been so inconsistent all season, from week 1 knocking off playoff contender Utah to, like I said, last week losing to Vanderbilt. I mean, where have they been? Very inconsistent. Florida State, he says, give me the Noles at home, and he actually thinks it's going to be a big victory for the Seminoles at home in Renegade. Brett's taken Florida State. Charlie never bets against visitors. You know, that's a awesome, awesome environment down there in Doak Walker Stadium. He's also taken Florida State. Me, I tend to agree with both of our guest pickers, guys. I think Florida State is just a better team, not just from a roster and talent perspective, but then you add in home field, and they're just playing better, more consistent football. So I'm also taking the Seminoles. And how can you bet against Renegade, one of the best mascots in all of college football nation? I mean, hands down. So we're all on the Florida State bandwagon. Next game, huge game in the Mountain West. Wyoming, the Cowboys, after a close loss last week at home against Boise State in Laramie, they traveled to Fresno State to take on quarterback Jake Haener and the Fresno State Bulldogs. Victory. You know, the Bulldog will be in attendance. Big game. Fresno State has already wrapped up the Mountain West Division, and last week was really a heartbreaking loss. I picked the Cowboys for the upset. That was for first place in the Mountain West Mountain Division, lost by a field goal. Can Wyoming bounce back? Or is maybe Fresno State looking ahead a little bit? They've already punched their ticket to the Mountain West title game. Let's find out right now. Brett says Fresno State will not be looking ahead next week. Fresno State, big-time offense. I mean, Jake Haener, if you've been watching, guys, you know I'm a huge fan of him. He missed a few games due to an injury that he suffered early in the season against USC. But now since he's come back, they've only won 4 games in a row. They're rolling. The guy, I think, is the best player at the non-Power 5 level. I'm all about Jake Haener. So is Brett. He just thinks their offense is way too much. So he's taking the Bulldogs at home to roll. Charlie, he's also all about Jake Haener. He's also taking the Bulldogs. And me, I'm not going against those two, even though I'm not playing against them. But I am completely sold on Jake Haener. It's senior day, and I think this is his last year of eligibility. If not, he's definitely going to the pros. He is out of there. So give me the Bulldogs as well. We're all on the Fresno State train for that. Next game. Huge game in the Pac-12. Pac-12 conference title game, ramifications on the line. Potential college football playoff ramifications. I'm talking about the big-time rivalry. Oregon, number 9 Oregon, travels to number 21 Oregon State. It used to be called something else, but now the rivalry game is called the Oregon Classic. One of my favorite rivalry games each and every year, guys. I love this game, especially when it means something, especially when it's buku important like this one is. We've got Oregon going on the road. Bo Nix is still a little bit nicked up. Last week against Utah, he could barely even move, even though by nature, in his DNA, he is a mobile quarterback, but he could not even barely move. They still found a way to defeat Utah in Eugene. So here they are. It's simple. Oregon, you go to your rival Oregon State and win. You punch your ticket to the Pac-12 title game against USC next week. But you've got to get through a really tough Oregon State team that's physical, that likes to control the pace of play, one of the most underrated teams in the nation. And if they just would have won one of their 2 close losses, they lost by 3 against both Washington and USC. If they would have won one of those 2 games and then defeated their in-state rival, the Ducks, they would be playing USC in the Pac-12 title game. So it still has a lot on the line. Let's see what we think about this game up in Corvallis. Brett says Oregon State's going to keep it close. Oregon will absolutely be pushed. They'll have to gut it out, grit it out. It's going to be an awesome game, but he likes Oregon really, really close to get it done. So Brett's taking the Ducks. Charlie, he's not going against the Ducks as well. He's also taking Oregon in this rivalry game. This was a tough call for me, guys, because I told you preseason, take Oregon State for the over. They were forecasted at 6.5 wins. I said, hey, best bet totals, take Oregon State. I put some money on them. My wallet's going to get fatter. Thank you, Beavers. I love this team, guys, but I just don't think they have enough firepower to keep up with the Ducks. If Bo Nix continues to not be mobile, let's say he gets knocked out of the game, and I hate to see something like that happen, but if that happens, that changes everything, the dynamic of this game. But I just like Oregon to find a way. I'm taking the Ducks as well. We're all taking the Ducks in this matchup in the Oregon Classic. Next game, huge tilt in the Big 12, which absolutely, I've been saying this the whole year, guys, is the deepest, most competitive conference in all of college football this year across the entire nation. I'm talking the Governor's Cup is up for grabs, and it means something. Both of these teams playing really good football. They've had good seasons. I'm talking about Kansas. They traveled to number 12 Kansas State. Guys, I believe Kansas State, hands down, the best 3-loss team in the nation. I think they're a little bit underrated. I think they should be number 10 or number 11 in the college football playoff rankings. Big game for the Governor's Cup. This is what's on the line. Kansas has already punched their bowl ticket, one of the best stories of the season, but they've kind of regressed back to the median. Kansas State is this simple for the Wildcats. Win at home in the Little Big Apple in Manhattan, Kansas, and you punch your ticket to the Big 12 title game to face off with Darling, the undefeated TCU Horned Frogs. It's that simple for the Wildcats, guys. But Kansas, under Coach Lance Leipold, you know they'd love nothing more than to trot into Manhattan and defeat their in-state rival and ruin their dreams of a Big 12 potential championship. So let's see how we see this game playing out. Brett says Kansas, once again, has been one of the stories of the year, but after they lose to Kansas State this weekend, they're going to fall back to 6-6, a 500 team. Give me Kansas State to roll big. So he likes the Wildcats to make a big statement over the Jayhawks. He's taken the Wildcats. Charlie, he's also taken the silver, fear the purple, the silver and purple. He's taken Kansas State as well. And me, I've been bullish on this team all year. Man, they're a good team. I think they should be ranked a little bit higher, as I already stated, in the CFP rankings. I'm also taking the Wildcats, so we're all taking Kansas State in this matchup in the Governor's Cup. Next game, a game that doesn't mean as much this season because I think their path to the college football playoff is over, even though some people think they still have a shot, and I don't believe this. I don't see how. I'm talking about this year's edition of the Iron Bowl. Auburn travels to number 7 Alabama for this yearly edition, one of the most hated and fierce rivalry games in all the nation. Alabama, not the typical Alabama season. 2 losses. They are out of the SEC West division race. That's been clinched by LSU. But definitely they're playing for a Sugar Bowl berth. That's still clearly in sight for the Crimson Tide. Can Auburn rise up? They need a victory to go bowling. They're sitting there at 6 losses. Can Cadillac Williams, former running back for Auburn, who's been the interim coach, can he continue to inspire them? Will he be the long-term answer at Auburn? I think if he goes to Tuscaloosa and wins, if they find a way to get it done, I think there's no way you can't hire him long-term. That's just my opinion. Auburn friends, let me know. Let's see, or let me know what you think. Let's see how we see this year's Iron Bowl playing out. Brett just says Alabama big, and it really hurts him to say that because he is not an Alabama fan, but he just says Bama big. Charlie echoes the same thing, Bama big. I think Auburn will come in very inspired. I think they'll initially punch Alabama in the mouth, show them that they're ready to play, but ultimately the GOAT, superior talent, roster, home field advantage. I like Alabama big as well. We're all taking the Crimson Tide in this year's edition of the Iron Bowl. Next game, another huge game. College football playoff berths potentially are on the line out on the West Coast in LA in the Coliseum. I'm talking about this year's edition of the jeweled Shillelagh Trophy, the rivalry. Number 15 Notre Dame travels west. Head west, young man, to take on number 6 USC, looking for another impressive victory and data point to present to the College Football Playoff Committee as of why they deserve potentially an at-large. And they're going to be in position, guys, because Michigan and Ohio State, one of those two teams have to lose. So who is going to be the best benefactor from that? And also, if Georgia happens to beat LSU, and LSU is one spot ahead of the Trojans, big time prizes potentially lay ahead for USC if they can take care of their historic rival. So let's see what we think about this game. And also one more chance for a Heisman candidate, Heisman Trophy finalist potentially, Caleb Williams, to make another statement. Let's see what we think about this game. Brett says Notre Dame, they come in, we know what they're going to do, try to control the pace, but they just think that he thinks the USC offense is just too explosive. They're not going to be able to keep up with that. Better team at home. He likes the Trojans to fight on. Charlie, he's also taking USC. Me, I think Notre Dame. And Brett also pointed out, they've had a great second half of the season, has Notre Dame. They have absolutely recovered from those two early season losses back-to-back at Ohio State and at home against Marshall. They have. But I just think USC, what they're playing for, all right, and their defense leads the entire nation in turnover differential. And Brett also pointed that out. I mean, great homework, great analysis by Brett as always, that they're just a very aggressive defense. They seem to be at the right place at the right time. Maybe not the best, most physical defense, but they do scheme very well. They're sound. And then you couple that with their explosive offense, guys. I'm also taking USC, and I think they could find themselves in the college football playoff, but they have to win out. Their margin for error is so small. They've got to beat Notre Dame and then win the Pac-12 title game. Then I think they will make the best case to get in the CFP this year. So we're all taking USC in this matchup of the jeweled Shillelagh Trophy. Next game, a big game in the Sun Belt. I'm talking the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers travel to the James Madison University Dukes. Big time game. Coastal Carolina took last week off. Their game at Virginia was canceled due to the on-campus shootings of the 3 Virginia football players. And my thoughts and prayers continue to go out and be with the families, the program at UVA, the entire Virginia community. I hope the recovery process goes quickly and as best as possible. I'm with you. I'm thinking about you. And James Madison, this is their bowl game, guys. They currently are 1 game or maybe 2 games behind Coastal Carolina and the Sun Belt standings because James Madison, they've recovered. Brett, he says they've recovered from a 3-game losing streak, guys. They're already bowl eligible, but this ridiculous, stupid NCAA rule is going to cost them a bowl game. It's highway robbery. When you make the jump from FCS to FBS level of football, like James Madison did over the offseason, you have to wait 2 years. 2 years before you can participate in a bowl game. It's robbery. NCAA, you're supposed to back and do whatever you can for the betterment of the student athlete. Put your money where your mouth is. Remove this rule immediately. James Madison deserves to go to a bowl game, but they probably will not. So this is their bowl game. This is their shining moment to take down the biggest bully on the block in the Sun Belt, in the Chanticleers. Let's see how we see this game forecasted. Brett, he says he doesn't understand why one team is a 2-score favorite, and that's JMU. The Dukes are favored by 2 touchdowns against Coastal Carolina. He doesn't understand it, but he does when Coastal Carolina cannot stop the run. Their stud quarterback, Grayson Mullet McCall, is lost for the season due to a late season injury, a foot injury. Very unfortunate loss for the Chanticleers. But he doesn't maybe understand or believe that JMU is a 2 touchdowns better than Coastal Carolina. He said, if I was betting the points and the spread, I would take Coastal Carolina. But then he throws me a curveball and says, the heck with it. I'm taking the Chanticleers for a big-time upset. Brett's taking the Chants. That'd be a huge upset. So he's going with Coastal Carolina. Charlie, he likes the Dukes at home because of those circumstances. It's their bowl game. Grayson McCall is not playing, as I stated. He's taking the Dukes. I'm taking the Dukes, guys, because of premise. I love what they've done. Another one of the best stories of this college football season for them to make the leap up. And this was not a leap that was something that was it wasn't planned. They didn't plan it 3 years in advance. It just happened quickly over the offseason. They've had a very successful season. They've got their 7 victories. So I'm absolutely taking James Madison. And NCAA, let them play. Remove this rule. You no longer have any authority to do this, especially don't punish these student athletes. Don't take this potential away from them. Don't. They've earned it. Reward them. So I'm taking James Madison, the Dukes as well. All right. Next game, a big game. Another huge game in the Pac-12. This year's edition of the Apple Cup. That's right. Number 13, Washington, travels to Washington State to take on the Cougars. Man, what a game this is going to be. Washington still has a chance to get to the Pac-12 title game. They need to have an upset here or there. They need to win themselves. So let's see what happens in this game. Brett just says, I just don't think Washington State can eventually hang long-term the entire game with the Washington offense. They're very explosive under former Indiana quarterback, Michael Penix Jr. He says, I think it'll be a 3-quarter game, but in the 4th quarter, Washington pulls away. They find a way to win in Pullman. Brett's taking the Huskies of Washington in this game. Charlie, he's also taken Washington. I think Washington State, guys, is one of the most underrated teams as well in the nation, not just in the Pac-12. They play good physical defense, well coached. I like the Cougars at home. That's right. They break the hearts of the Husky fans in the program. They win and capture the Apple Cup. I'm taking the Cougars of Washington State in this game to get it done. Go Cougs. Now, guys, we've reached my specialty games, and this is my Academy game of the week. Big time game in the Mountain West. The Air Force Falcons take their talents on the road to San Diego to take on the San Diego State Aztecs. Let's see what we think about this game. Brett says both of these teams really good at home. Air Force 6-1 in Colorado Springs. San Diego State 5-1 in San Diego. Air Force is going to chew up the clock and run for a bunch of yards. But since San Diego State and the Fighting Brady Hoax, former Michigan coach, they're at home, he's taking the Aztecs. He's going with San Diego State. Charlie, he likes the triple option attack, and Air Force runs it beautifully to a T. He likes Air Force to control the pace of play, deny San Diego State a few extra possessions. He's taking the Falcons. Me, I tend to agree more with Brett. It's in San Diego. I'm taking the Aztecs at home, even though I am bullish on this Air Force team. Preseason, I predicted that they would win the Mountain West Mountain Division and face off against Fresno State. Didn't really play out that way, but I'm taking San Diego State at home. Next game is my non-Power 5 matchup of the week. Huge, uber big game in the American Athletic. The winner punches their ticket against UCF in the American Athletic Conference title game. The conference that's given us the playoff contender, playoff participant, last year Cincinnati. The conference that usually grabs the coveted New Year's Six bowl berth from the non-Power 5 ranks. I'm talking number 19, Tulane, the Green Wave, travel to number 24, Cincinnati, against Luke Fickell, who continues to do a great coaching job there in Cincinnati. One of the best coaching jobs in all of college football, considering everything they lost in the offseason. From that college football playoff team to the winner go the spoils, a chance to grab that New Year's Six bowl berth and win the AAC title. Let's see what we think about this big-time game there in Ohio. Brett, he just thinks Tulane outscores them. He's taking the Green Wave on the road. Love that pick. Charlie, he's going with status quo. Luke Fickell just finds a way to win big games. That's all he does is win. He's taking the Bearcats of Cincinnati at home. Me, I've learned my lesson, guys. I don't bet against Luke Fickell. I think he will potentially leave in the offseason finally goes to a Power 5 program. So give me Cincinnati to win and advance to the AAC title game. I'm taking the Bearcats. Next is my FCS matchup of the week in this year's edition of the Bayou Classic down in New Orleans. I'm taking it's Grambling versus Southern, the Tigers versus the Jaguars. What carnivore will come out on top? Let's see what we think about this game. And also, too, you've got to watch the drum lines at halftime. That's really one of the most impressive sights in all of college football. I love this matchup. I love this rivalry game. Brett, he's taking the Jaguars over the Tigers. He thinks they're just too much. Grambling has had a rough season. Charlie, he's also taken the Southern Jaguars. And me, I can't go against those two. I'm also taking Southern. We're all on the Jaguar bandwagon for this game. Next, it's time for me to make the picks for our black and golds. This year's edition of the Battle Line Trophy. Huge game, especially for our Missouri Tigers. Arkansas travels to Missouri to take on Mizzou on Black Friday. At home in Como, Missouri, you win, and you're going to find yourself playing a +1 game. You'll get bowl eligible. And this is the game that Missouri, and especially Coach Drinkowitz, needs to have to maybe cool down some of that chatter. I think if they lose this game, does Missouri, and not go bowling, I think coming into next year, that seat's going to be pretty warm for Coach Drink. I hope not. I think he's building something there. Just trust the process, Missouri fans. Huge game. And I thought 2 weeks ago that this game would even mean more because both teams would be fighting for bowl eligibility. But Arkansas absolutely laid the smackdown on Ole Miss last weekend. 42-27, ran for over 400 yards rushing against Ole Miss. But then again, I've been saying for weeks, Ole Miss is highly overranked and overrated, guys, which they've been exposed, but yet they find themselves still in the CFP rankings some way, somehow. Let's see what we think about this big-time game for one of our black and gold squads. Brett says, due to that, rushing for 426 yards last week, I don't think Missouri's going to be able to slow down that Arkansas rushing attack. He just thinks at home, even though they're on the road, he's taking the Razorbacks and Pig Sooie to get it done. Brett's taking Arkansas. Charlie, Missouri fan number 1, is also taking the Hogs at Mizzou to get it done. Me, this Missouri squad all season, guys, has missed opportunity after opportunity at Auburn, at home against Georgia, and at home against Kentucky. This is the game they've got to have. I think they will find a way to outplay Arkansas. Arkansas may not be playing for much more than just bowl positioning. I think Missouri wins, captures the Battle Line Trophy. Give me the Tigers at home. I'm taking Missouri to go bowling and play that +1 game. Give me Missouri. Next, big-time matchup for our Iowa Hawkeyes, guys. Nebraska comes into Kinnick Stadium on Black Friday. Nebraska sits there with 8 losses. They're not going to postseason. They're looking to spoil the party for our Hawkeyes. It's simple. Iowa, you win and you're in. You win the West Division and advance to Indianapolis to take on the winner of Ohio State and Michigan. That's all they've got to do. I will be in attendance for the game. We are leaving later this afternoon to head up north to Iowa City. Enjoy Turkey Day with family. And then my brother and I and my son are going to the game. It'd be a great memory to share with my son and my brother, Hawkeye fan number 1, to be there to see them clinch the division and hoist the trophy, to get back to Indianapolis in back-to-back years. Big-time game. I am not looking ahead. Take care of business. And then next week, we'll talk about potentially how it's going to go down in Indy. But take care of Big Red first, or what a lot of you have called this week on the channel via comments, Little Red. Let's see what we think about this game. Brett says this is going to be an ugly game. Weather conditions do look really good. I mean, low 40s, no real precip, a little bit of wind, so that should not play a huge factor. And one thing I forgot to mention, Iowa does have some big-time injuries, guys. Their fullback, Monty Potabom, is not going to play. He's a big-time part of their rushing attack. He's a big-time lead blocker out of the backfield. Occasionally, he will slip out and catch a pass in the flat. He will be given a handoff occasionally on 3rd and 1 or 4th and short. So he will not be in the lineup. And the big one, it was confirmed that their all-purpose stud tight end, the best player on their offense, tight end Sam Laporta, will not be playing for the Hawkeyes. He left in the first quarter last week at Minnesota. I mean, after tallying 95 receiving yards in not even one quarter. So he will be rested. I don't think it's something major. I mean, it wasn't really released, what the injury is, the level. But he was on the sideline the rest of the game last week, not on crutches, not in a boot, his helmet on. He was walking around. So Iowa will be without Sam Laporta. Will that make a big difference? Let's see. Brett says this game will be ugly. It might be basically the first one to score 17 to 20 points is probably going to win. He says at home, he's taking the Hawkeyes to get it done. Charlie, Mr. Anti-Nebraska from the old Big 12 days when it was Missouri and Nebraska every season, he's taking the Hawkeyes as well to win and get to Indianapolis. Me, I look at it like this, guys. We have some injuries, does Iowa. Casey Thompson, I think, is going to play for Nebraska. He is their best option at quarterback. But that being said, when he's in the game, they can move the ball, but he is a turnover or two waiting to happen. He will give you opportunities to take possessions away. He absolutely will. If he wasn't playing, I would not hesitate, because I think Logan Smothers and Purdy, the backups, I think Nebraska would be lucky to score more than 6 points against this Iowa defense if they were in there. With those two in, Nebraska basically is the Iowa offense of the first half of the season. They just cannot do anything. I think Thompson will move the ball a little bit on Iowa, but like I said, turnovers will aid the home team, and I just don't see Iowa losing at home in that sort of situation. Win at home, senior day, you don't have to worry about the conditions. Win, hoist the trophy, get back to Indy, and plus, I want to share this with my brother and my son, so I'm also taking our Hawkeyes to get it done. We're all taking Iowa. Hopefully that comes to fruition. And now, guys, it is the premier spotlight game of the week, and it's got to be this year's edition of The Game. That's right, number 3, Michigan travels to number 2, Ohio State. Uber big-time matchup in the Horseshoe. Cannot wait to watch this on Saturday afternoon. I love this, the 11 a.m. kickoff each and every year. I already mentioned a Heisman Trophy showcase game between Blake Corum and C.J. Stroud. To the winner goes the Big Ten East. They advance to take on the winner of the West in Indianapolis. They win that game, which they will be, whoever that is, they will be big-time favorites over whoever wins the Big Ten West, and deservedly so. I'll be the first Iowa fan to say that. So big-time ramifications in this game. Big Ten conference title, absolutely 2 versus 3 college football playoff ramifications. Let's see what we think about this game. And me, I love this matchup, guys. It is your traditional college football basketball tournament matchup. 2 teams, separate styles. One wants to get up and down the court, go coast to coast. That's Ohio State with their big-time spread offense. The other is the style of slow it down. We want to play half-court style game of basketball. That's Michigan. Control the pace of play, be more physical. Traditional matchup, but there is one big-time unknown that shadows this game, and that is the status of running back Blake Corum. He left early in the game last week against Illinois. He did try to return in the second half. I think only had 1 carry in the second half and then sat. We've heard nothing about his status or the severity of his level of injury from Coach Jim Harbaugh and the staff, as expected. So will he play? We don't know. I basically made my pick just anticipating he will not play or will not be that effective. So let's see what we think. Because of that, Brett just thinks Ohio State's offense is just too much. They'll be able to outpace and outscore the very physical Michigan team, which is the more physical of these 2 teams. Brett likes Ohio State to get it done. Charlie, he's also taken Ohio State. And for tiebreaker purposes, if they both have the same record, I asked them to give me total points. Brett likes Ohio State to win once again with 51 total points being scored. Charlie likes Ohio State to win with 56 total points being scored. My pick, not knowing the status or effectiveness of Blake Corum, guys, that really hampers Michigan's plan of attack, a team that does not want to get in a passing match against Ohio State. J.J. McCarthy has shown down the stretch, guys. He's struggling to find his receivers. I don't think without Blake Corum there's any way that Michigan can outscore them. But Blake Corum on the field will limit Ohio State's possessions. Try to get, because Michigan wants to pull Ohio State into a phone booth and get into that rock fight, body blow after body blow, like Rocky IV, chop down Ivan Drago with body blows, bring him down to you. But I just don't know how effective they'll be without Blake Corum. And Donovan Edwards, their backup running back, did not play last week against Illinois. I don't know what his status is. I think they're really behind the 8 ball as Michigan because of that. I think it still will be very, very close and competitive, but I just like Ohio State due to the running back situation and room at Michigan potentially. I just can't. I think that's way too much for Michigan to overtake, but I might be wrong because I still think there's a very good path to the playoff for both of these Big Ten powerhouses. I just think it could happen with a little bit of help. Simply if Georgia defeats LSU and if either TCU or USC loses one of their next 2 games, I think if it's competitive, both Michigan and Ohio State find themselves in the college football playoff field. So that's it, guys. That's my Week 13 preview and picks episode. Please subscribe, click the button, comment. Let me know what you think about my picks. All about rivalry week. I can't wait to watch it. And I've got to say, have a very, very happy and safe Thanksgiving. Always go with extra gravy if possible. Do it up. Don't skimp on the gravy. Thank you for all you've done and will continue to do for the channel. It's an absolute pleasure to be here in front of you, sharing my love and passion for all things college football. Please hit me up. Enjoy the football. Enjoy your holiday. Enjoy your families. Don't forget to give thanks for what really matters in this life. Live it up. Please comment. I will get back to you. And once again, safe travels. Enjoy your holiday. And be looking for me. I will have an instant reaction and recap to the Iowa-Nebraska game, either Friday night, depends on how late we get back from the game, or first thing Saturday. Prior to the game, I'm definitely going to watch the Ohio State-Michigan game with my brother. So look for me then. Best of luck. Enjoy the holiday, your families, the football, and I'll catch you later this week. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Touchdown Black and Gold Vlog. See you later. Bye-bye.